So you end up going to DLI, Defense Language Institute. What did you just get a good score on the D Lab or something?
So, the recruiter, like you just said, told me I couldn't go straight to flight school. And
is that true or not?
It's not. So you've heard the line, right? You know when a recruiter's lying because his lips are moving. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much. They have a quota. They're trying to fill slots. They're going to push you in that direction. I guess they were just short Spanish voice intercept operators that particular day. So he convinced me. And, I talked to a couple of folks and they said, they're going to send you to school for a year to learn a language. That's a great deal. You should take it. So I agreed and I did it. So
you went to Spanish school. You get done with that. And then what? Did you get stationed down in Panama after that?
I did. Yeah.
And what were you doing? Flying up and listening in on comms?
No, we actually had a station there. Actually, there were two. There were one on the east side and one on the west side, and we were listening to comms throughout Central America. There's a gigantic antenna array, and we kind of sat right in the middle of it, and we just searched for communications. And my job was to find it and then write a summary of what they were talking about, and then it would go to the analysts and they would decide whether or not it was worth really documenting. So I'm recording it and I'm making notes basically. So it wasn't exactly the glamorous James Bond career that I thought it might be as described. Yeah.
And you start putting in for flight school as soon as you get there?
Very soon afterward. I still remember, I'd already wanted to fly, and I was on the beach one day. I mean, Panama's a pretty nice place to be. Don't get me wrong. It was a good assignment. And these two Hueys came low level right over the beach. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I need to go pursue that because, it's just there's something about, I don't know. Helicopters, if you get involved in them, they get in your blood. There's nothing better. And when I had that moment on the beach, I said, I'm getting this going again. People don't realize now, everything we do is on our phone, go log in the internet. Back then, I mean, you're filling out forms and, making copies and putting it in an envelope. So it was a little bit of an adventure applying for flight school from overseas, but I made it happen. I got accepted.
What was the acceptance rate? Was it hard to get accepted?
I don't know if it was super hard. The hard part actually came in flight school. A lot of people washed out or again, they're trying to get certain numbers through. So our class started with 80 and we ended up graduating 40. Now they didn't all get washed out, but they got pushed back to other classes. Yeah. So.
And that's going right back into boot camp when you go to Fort Rucker, Alabama, as far as they're going to tighten you up. And
they shave your head again, and you're doing square meals, and you got 5 minutes to eat, and they're yelling at you from the moment you wake up. They're inspecting your bed, but there's a purpose, and I'm sure some of it doesn't accomplish much, but a lot of the stuff, when you look back at it, it's about attention to detail, right? I mean, if you're pre-flight in an aircraft or you're flying a mission, you got to be focused on what you're doing. I mean, you can't be off in la la land. You got to be that's exactly 2 inches. It's supposed to be 2 inches. Okay, it's good. Move on to the next thing, right? But at the time you're like, why are they inspecting my bed? It doesn't seem to make sense. But it weeds out the people that can't do that sort of thing. They don't have that discipline.
So you start off in a TH-55, which I thought was funny. You say in the book they had those things painted bright orange.
Yes.
Hey, stay away from this this student.
Yes.
Like student driver's signs.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they were dangerous. My roommate had a midair, just to put it in perspective. Really? Yeah. I mean, you solo with less than 10 hours in the aircraft. So can you imagine 10 hours of flight time and you're given a helicopter, go take it around the pattern.
Ooh.
And he and another classmate crashed into each other because you're flying multiple runways that are parallel to each other. So they're opposite direction in the pattern, and they both overshot and they ran into each other. Now, fortunately, it was minor damage, but again, you got 7-8 hours in a helicopter and you suddenly had a midair. What do I do? One of them thought he had an engine failure, which is not even close to what the problem was. So he did what's called an auto rotation, thinking, but his engine's working fine. But he got it on the ground somehow.
How do you collide helicopters and not have a catastrophic event?
It's your lucky day. I mean, go straight to Vegas because they should have both been dead. And neither one of them actually even washed out. They stayed with the class. It was amazing. Yeah.
What part made contact?
So the rotor blades of one impacted the landing gear and underneath of the other. So it like chopped part of the landing gear off and chopped some antennas off.
Okay, then I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, exciting times right out of the gate.
And then you go from that bird to a Huey.
Right.
Did you think you were in Nam when you were flying the Huey?
Actually, it feels like you're getting in the space shuttle. I mean, because, it's like maybe you get into a Ferrari if you drive a Toyota every day. I mean, it just seems very advanced. There's just a lot of stuff in there. And then, of course, that happens again when I ultimately end up in the Black Hawk. But, each leap forward is, there's a lot more systems to know and a lot more gauges. And it's just incredible. The first time you fly it, it's like, wow, okay, I'm really here. This is where I wanted to go. And then you keep going beyond that.
It seems like, again, from my rudimentary knowledge and from being in, flying around in a Huey, it seems like when you're in a Huey, you're in a 1965 muscle car, and then when you go into a Black Hawk, you feel like you're in a brand new, Tesla, like electronic everything. Is that accurate, or am I just dumb?
No, you're absolutely right. And I have to be careful here because my wife is actually a Huey pilot, so I can't say any disparaging things about a Huey. It's a great air. She always jokes around and says, when they fly the last Black Hawk to a museum and they fly the crew out, they'll fly that crew out with a Huey because it'll be around longer than the Black Hawk ever will. But no, you're right. It seems, I have a picture of the first flight I took in a Black Hawk from behind, and it has digital gauges and things like that you just don't have in those legacy aircraft. They're all steam gauges or needles. So again, it's like flying a spaceship. I mean, it really. It's intimidating at first, but after a while, it's just an extension of yourself.